Welcome, everybody. This is our wrap up party for 10 weeks of Alchemy. So, just as a reminder, and for anybody who's attending for the first time, we spent 10 weeks on the Book of Alchemy by Suleika Juad. Before we get into it, I just wanted to let you know, in case you're watching this later, what materials you can still get in both of our groups. So, you can still go into either Writing with Kayleigh or the Writing Wild Society and get the schedule of all the prompts that we used to turn the Book of Alchemy, which is really a 100 days project, into a 10-week project. You can also get recordings of all of our live events. And then a couple of different tools are available to you. I'll let Adrienne describe those actually because she created them.
Okay, so we have two interactive Claude artifacts, which are basically just like web-based apps. So we give you the link. The first one is a journal prompt generator in the style of the Book of Alchemy. So it's inspired by the themes and the types of prompts that were in there. So you can go through, select a theme that you want to write on, you can have it surprise you, and it will generate an essay kind of in the style of Book of Alchemy that gives you a little preamble to warm you up, and then it gives you a prompt. And so every time you go in there, it's assisted by AI, so you'll get something fresh every time. Probably never, well, I guess you won't ever see the same thing twice. You could save them though, you can copy them out of the artifact. So that's a pretty fun one. And then I have another one that we are going to drop into both of our groups. It's a 100-day project or create your own 100-day project, basically. And so in the Book of Alchemy early on, Michael Bierut has an essay and he talks about the history of a 100-day project. He started it as a professor with his class, and there are some kind of rules that went with it as far as it being something that's specific, repeatable. You could do it anywhere that you're at. A lot of them pertain to creativity, and he lists some examples in the book, but this idea of a 100-day project is, I think, really fun. I went through the Book of Alchemy before and did it as a 100-day project, and there are moments where it's tedious, where you want to take a day, but then whether you do or you don't, you return to it. It's a neat thing to be able to say that you did and accomplished. And he shares stories of his students documenting it. And I mean, for some of them, they became influencers around that or really popular on different social media platforms and were able to sell their art or whatever else. And there's a website for it too, where they share a bunch of the stories. Long story long. The artifact actually, you can select the type of 100-day project you want to do. You can give it some info if you have an idea, or if you don't, you can kind of just select the medium and it will help you generate some examples. You can select it. It'll help you write the rule. So it kind of follows that very specific, repeatable, it's tied to your identity. And then it will take you through some stuff where it has you accountable to when you're going to do it, when you're going to start. And you'll actually get a card at the end that outlines the whole project for you with your dates on it, the thing you selected, when you're going to do it, how you're going to share it. And you can download the actual image, so you could save it, have it on your phone, share it on social, or you can just copy the text out of it too. So I think it's really fun, and pretty much anything you're interested in doing, any type of medium, can help you get really creative with some of your ideas.
Yeah. And I'll say sometimes writers and especially journalers might feel like, oh, I don't want to deal with AI, or AI feels really artificial. This is not AI writing for you. This is nothing like that. I would never, ever recommend that. But these are wonderful tools to help you create writing projects for yourself and prompts for yourself based on things that you put in. And they're both just included for free, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely free. They'll be in both groups. Use them as much as you want, bookmark them, but the links will be in both groups pretty much forever and ever. So
Great. Okay. So before we get into the writing, I thought that we should reintroduce ourselves and just say a little bit about our groups and what we have going on, because this is the end of our project together. So if there's anybody who hasn't had a chance to sign up for both of the groups yet, do be sure and sign up for the other group, because from here on out, our ongoing projects and prompts and things are going to be separate. So Adrienne, do you want to start off by explaining what the Writing Wild Society is?
yes, so the Writing Wild Society, it is a group for just women. Sorry, men, I know that there's men in journaling with Kayleigh. It's a women's only group for really exploring your intuition through writing, connecting with yourself. It's all about getting to your essence rather than the noise of the world, and using writing as the vehicle to get there. So for me, I've always journaled as a way to figure out life and figure out how I feel and what I really know to be true without the noise of everything else. And so a lot of the prompts and the themes are very much shaped around that type of self-discovery writing. But there's a lot of fun stuff mixed in too. And this month of July, we have a summer camp theme going. So the prompts and the activities are a lot like, quick hitters. There's a lot of fun elements like collecting overheard conversations and then using it to write something, finding scraps of paper and taking 5 words from it, like just different ways of hunting beyond just like your thinking mind to come up with a way to do some writing. So that this month is a little bit different in the fact that it's all about connecting with playful energy and recapturing that summer spirit of anything's possible, and you're going to have all these adventures. And so we're creating these types of adventures on the page. And I also just introduced, it's like a planner meets journal that comes out every month, and it is aligned with the theme that month, and all of the prompts from the month are included in the journal, so you have them ahead of time. And then there's some activities, some fun things in there, planner pages, journal pages, and that is included with the membership. And if you are not in my group yet, so I am doing kind of a sprint to my founding 50 members, and I'm at 31 right now. So everybody that comes in up to 50, pretty much all of the digital content that I do, unless it is a specific coaching program, is going to be free. You are grandfathered in as a founding member up to 50 people. And then after that, I'm going to turn on the paid tiers. So if you are at all interested, you want to check it out, learn more, now's the time to pop in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to sound like super salesy, but I think I can say it because it's her group, not my group. But
Which is why I won't say it.
I have subscribed to monthly planner subscriptions like that, and I paid like $30, $35. So to be able to get it for free is amazing. If there's anybody in my group that hasn't signed up for the Writing Wild Society yet, absolutely do it. It's such a good deal. And those planners are so cool. And I love the writing retreat theme you have going on. It's so cool. Yeah. And then my group is Journaling with Kayleigh. And I'm really into different formats and different kind of breaking down our assumptions about what journaling is and what it can be. So in July, we're looking at tracking time and different methods of doing that. One of the things that we like to do in my group is every month or so, we'll have a different book or a different journaler from history, and we'll look into the ways that they journaled and different techniques and what that can unlock if we bring those tools into our own journaling. So this month, we're looking at Big Time by Laura Vanderkam and some of the different methods that you can use to be more productive or to find places in your calendar to do things that you really want to do. So that is a really fun thing that we're doing, and come and check that out. For this month, it's kind of like book club inspired. So every week at the end of the week, I'm going to share a couple of guiding questions to think about ways that you can take some ideas from the book and apply them to your own journaling or your own everyday life. And we might have a live event or two as well. Very similarly, in the spring, our book was the Book of Alchemy. So let's talk a little bit about the Book of Alchemy. And I do want to say, just like in our other lives, we are going to have some live journaling. So you will have opportunity to journal within this recording, but we're kind of going to flip it on its head a little bit this time and start with some discussion of the Book of Alchemy and our ideas before we get into that journaling. So do stick around if you were hoping to do some journaling. So to start off, should we just go back to why we decided to do this challenge together and why we both felt inspired by the Book of Alchemy?
Yeah, definitely. For me, I was kind of, even though I write all the time and journal all the time, I was feeling a little bit restless, and I went for the Book of Alchemy before, but I posted in my group like, hey, does anybody want to go through some type of writing and or creativity themed book together and talk about it, a little book club journaling experience. And Kayleigh was like, Book of Alchemy. Yes, that was like one of the options. She had been dying to do it. And a couple of other people voted the same thing. And so I was like, that's it. Like, we have to do it. And I went through it, like I said before, and I had tried to make it a thing. I didn't have a school group at the time. And it was one of those things where like people were interested and then kind of fell off, and it just I basically was like me going through it, not really talking to anybody about it, and it was not the experience I had hoped to have as far as like a group. The book itself was amazing. So this time, once she said Book of Alchemy, I'm like, oh, this is the sign that I need to go through this again and actually be able to talk to people about it. So that was for me, I was just craving that like connection around a book because I love writing and I love reading. So
Yeah. And I think for both of us, the artist way had been a touch point. I think we both had done the artist way. But the thing with the artist way is that it is a lot of work and you really have to be very committed to it and you have to do it in order. And I can just say, like, for myself, like, I was looking for something that kind of had that feeling of, oh, there's this book that has this really great combination of inspiring prompts, but also little essays and ideas about creativity and these themes that I'm thinking about as a writer, but also is not going to be as much work and is not going to be as prescriptive because I just, in my day to day life, like I'm not looking for more assignments necessarily. I'm just looking for more opportunities to write. And I feel like the Book of Alchemy seemed like it was going to be that. And it actually was that. It really was something where if I had to miss a day, it was okay. I could just come back in the next day and it was a totally fresh new prompt. It wasn't something where I had to catch up. I never felt like I had to catch up. But at the same time, each little piece was so considered and was so carefully written and really thoughtful that I really fell in love with this book. I really thought it was wonderful and I would go back through it again. And I think you were saying earlier, Adrian, that you felt like you would just start it right over again and do another.
yeah, I was thinking about it actually. I don't think I would put like the 100 days on it this time or like a specific, but I ended up, for those of you that are in Kayleigh's group and don't know me yet, I ended up moving at the beginning of June. And so it's like kind of towards the tail end of the experience. And I used to live in Arizona. I moved to Idaho 2 years ago. Just moved back to Arizona. So a little zigzagging across the country. And once I knew I was moving, like, of course, that became every day's priority. Like, I've got to pack, I've got to plan this, I got to figure this out. And the Book of Alchemy was a nice break in that because it was like, okay, I know I'm going to read this really inspiring essay and give myself a moment to write. But as the move got closer, I was not as engaged with the back half of the book as I was the front half of the book. And I almost felt a little annoyed with myself because I was having such an amazing experience with it. And I also noticed that even like the first time I did it versus this time, the stuff that came up in my writing was very different. I mean, it was 2 year difference from when I did it. I'm in a very different place physically, emotionally, like in life, all of it. In the book, it was almost like I hadn't gone through it in a way where like it brought up something so different this time than last time. And so I feel like now as I'm like getting settled in a place, keeping it on my desk and if I need inspiration to write and use it more like that rather than like I have to do this every day for 100 days, but work through it like in a very no pressure situation and just see what comes up again. Because like I said, the same exact prompts, I've literally looked at different journal entries and totally different subjects and things came up in my writing. So I do think it's one of those books that you can visit again and again. And I will say there's some that made me laugh both times, made me cry both times. And then there were some that hit me with a very different emotion this time versus last time. So it didn't feel like, oh, I've done this before. It really felt like a whole new energy this time versus last time. And so just, yeah, doing it at a much slower pace and not feeling like even though the 10 weeks was an amazing format. And like you said, I never felt behind, but at the same time, I was getting so much out of it. I wanted to have more time, which I just didn't dedicate as much time writing like my last couple of weeks of the book as I had before. So, but yeah, I've been thinking about that. I'm like, I think I'm just going to flip it over, start again, and just, when I'm feeling it, just pick it up and write and just see where it goes.
Yeah. And we should probably say that the author of the book does have a Substack. And if you subscribe to it, she also has some live events and things like that. So if there's anybody that did this challenge with us and really fell in love with it, you definitely should check out her Substack and consider going to some of those events because this isn't the end of the prompts from her.
Yes, and also you put together a list with the
Oh yeah, that's right. I
yes,
forgot about
the
that.
authors. So you're going to meet some really amazing writers in this book. Some of them you may know, like a Liz Gilbert, Martha Beck, Danny Shapiro, ones that everyone that likes to read and write is pretty familiar with. But then there's some that you will never have heard of, and their writing is absolutely gorgeous. And so Kayleigh put together a list for us, especially for ones that already have published works. So if you want to share that, because that is a really cool resource.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I'll add that to the list. And I also wanted to ask you, I think we both really love journaling, but I think we have slightly different approaches to it because I'm a very Gretchen Rubin rebel. Like whenever I tell myself or somebody tells me I have to do something, I immediately want to do the opposite. So I'm like always reinventing my journal style and trying different formats and things. But I think the kind of expected structure of this book, even though it does have some changes in the form that your journaling takes from prompt to prompt, I think the basic idea is it's kind of made for a person that might sit down every single day, take a prompt, and then write from a prompt. So I was wondering, how does that fit in with your usual journaling style, Adrian?
So for me, like the ones where it's like draw the giraffe or whatever, I have like an art journal and then I have my journal that there's no doodling in that. That is not allowed. Like, I hate to admit my neuroses out loud, but whatever. I'm way better about it than I used to be. I used to have to use the same type of pen through the whole journal. I don't, it was like a weird thing that I could control in my life when I was younger. So I'm like, oh, it's gonna look a certain way. And now I use different colors. And so I'm like, ooh, look at me getting adventurous. I mean, my art journal one is like crazy, but like the normal soft leather journal, no, that is a certain way. So like when it had the first time, especially I went through and I'm like, I'm not gonna draw this in my journal. I'm not gonna do that. No. Like, but of course I did. And then I'm just like, oh, this is so weird. But that idea of it will get you to do things that you've probably never done or use your journal in a different way. And I know Kayleigh loves to do that. And I do love art journaling and stuff, but for some reason, that type of creative exploration journaling is a separate thing than my everyday writing practice. And so this book kind of merges them in a way. Like some prompts are like, yeah, straight writing, but then there's some creative elements or lists or whatever it might be, a haiku, just different formats where, you open your journal and for someone like me, I'm like, oh, this looks different. Like, I know I probably sound like a crazy person, but I don't know. It's like it broadens your horizons, whether you want it to or not. And I love that about it and kind of hate it at the same time because I decided that whatever notebook I committed to doing this in, the first time I had the separate notebook, this time I did it in my regular journal, which was like, oh, this is awkward because I knew that there's going to be things that, I had to put in there that was going to bother me later, but that's fine. So yeah, it was different. And one thing is, so I am a morning pages loyalist, even if I do not stick to every other practice in the artist way. So I did have to make adjustments, especially as I was moving, which one do I prioritize today kind of thing? Or is there a way to combine them in some way? I'm like, oh, I guess it's not true morning pages if I'm doing this. I'm like, well, but you could tell I overthink things. But anyways, so yeah, it was like very different. So a lot of time, most days, if I had the time, the Book of Alchemy was like a separate practice for me than my normal, just regular everyday journaling. But yeah, it pushes you, I think, both emotionally, just doing different things, different writing techniques, doodling, whatever it might be, in ways that maybe you don't normally do that in your journal. At least for me, because apparently I'm a little nutty about my journal. How about you?
I mean, obviously, I loved it. I loved every time it was like, draw a picture or make a list. I was like, yeah.
Like
I,
sweating. Like, oh God.
and I also teach creative writing classes, and a lot of the prompts from this book would be really, really good for kicking off a short story, kicking off if somebody is writing a novel and they're stuck on a particular point. A lot of these prompts are just it's not confined to journaling at all, I don't think. And I would imagine even somebody who was a musician or who was any kind of creative pursuit. It's very open-ended.
I agree. I think like even though it is like you said, like structured in a way for people that sit down and write, I think it is a tool for creativity, whatever your medium might be. I think if you pick up that book and you read it and then take the prompt and make it your own in one way or another, or use writing as your jumping off point, it's going to take you on a really interesting road and be inspiring.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite prompt or a favorite type of prompt?
I can't really say a favorite. It's interesting because I look at these prompts as kind of like apples and oranges. They're very different from theme to theme and even the structure. I made some notes about, especially towards the end of the book, because we hadn't really gotten into it. Generally speaking, one thing that I loved about this book is I felt very seen in all of her introductions and the way she talks about journaling and writing and, it just being this life-giving force in her life and something that she's done for so long, and it's how she figures herself out and helps her figure out who she's becoming and that whole bit and deal with everything. That it's one of those books where I felt like she was talking to me, like she saw me even, and I think that's really special. I don't know that I've ever read a book about writing and or creativity where I felt that type of kinship with the person that was writing. And I felt that a lot in different essays too. It just, yeah, like there's some that are tough to read, like grief, loss, and stuff like that. But then body, insecurity, like just putting your work out there, all of these things that creative people that write, journal deal with, it's all in there. And so it's like on any day and any mood, even if like I revisited some stuff, like I'm like, oh, okay, I want to go back to Brazen Face today or something, I kind of need that message or whatever. Yeah, I think the different essays and prompts are very fitting for different moods and once you go through it and you read it and you know which ones, I do have some bookmarked, of course, but if I work through this, like the and then kind of thing today, then that's going to really help me. So I guess like for me, some of these, yeah, I don't know that I could say it's, my absolute favorite, but I've worked them into things that like I do now. Like I revisit specific ones, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Yeah. I think the one that's really stuck with me was Letters from Love, the Elizabeth Gilbert
Mm,
one.
that's one of my favorite practices.
Yeah, and I think we did that one actually on a live call. And at first I was so resistant to it because it felt very sentimental or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think you pushed back a little bit, and I really had to examine, well, why is it so hard for me to be this compassionate or caring or kind to myself in the way that this prompt is asking me to? And it's something that I have brought into my journaling since then, that when I'm feeling down on myself, that I'll write one of these letters or at least a few paragraphs, just trying to be really, really kind to myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how there's certain prompts that will hit on something and you're like, oh, I didn't know that I needed that, but I'm so glad that I have that now in my toolbox as a journaler.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Liz Gilbert, her Substack is Letters from Love. And if the free one, you get her letter each week and the prompt. And then I think it's $5 a month, she has guest writers come on and do a letter from love. And not every week, but most weeks it's a different question. So it's like, dear love, what will you have me know about my fear of being seen or my capacity for love or whatever it might be, just different things, different themes. And I have found that practice, you can riff on it in any way and to just kind of forcing yourself to show yourself that type of kindness and compassion. It's a really interesting exercise. I found that it does get easier the more that you do it, but it can still be very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, this is great, but let's go ahead and get to some journaling now, and then we'll have more time for questions at the end to talk a little bit more about this. So, in our other live events, if you've watched them or if you want to watch them now, what we usually do is an oracle card reading first with some writing based on that. And then we do a prompt from the book. Today, because this is our last session, I thought I would flip it around and we're going to start with the prompt from the book. So I chose one of my favorite prompts that we didn't have a chance to do yet, and that I think deserves a little bit more time. So let me just put it up on the screen.
I'm on the edge of my seat because I don't even know what prompt we're doing yet.
It is the
Oh, this
mind
is a good
map.
one.
Oh, good. I was wondering if you were going to hate it.
No.
It's like a kind of drawing.
I mean, to
Um,
be fair, so the live calls I do in a separate notebook that is not my journal, so I'm going to mind map away.
okay, so it's safe. And I'll be using my official Alchemy journal.
I need to buy that. I was actually thinking if I go through it again, I'm going to have the book and that journal on my desk. But, anyways.
Okay, so I'll read it out loud, and anybody who's watching the video can follow along. I was thinking maybe we could release this as a podcast as well, since most of it is not does not require visual, but we can talk about that at the end. Okay, so this is by Carmen Radley, and it's titled Mind Map, and it's from page 39 of the Book of Alchemy. After the novelist Philip Roth died in 2018, I came across a short tribute Zadie Smith wrote to him. I'm not particularly a Roth fan, but I was charmed by the piece, especially the opening anecdote where Smith recounted a conversation she had with Roth about swimming laps, something they both enjoyed. When Roth asked Smith what she thought about as she swam, she said, I think first length, first length, first length, and then second length, second length, second length, and so on. His answer was wildly different. I choose a year, say 1953. Then I think about what happened in my life or within my little circle in that year. Then I move on to thinking about what happened in Newark or New York, then in America. And then if I'm going the distance, I might start thinking about Europe too, and so on. When I first read this, I couldn't imagine having such recall. Could I give that a shot? In 1953, Roth was 20. On a page in my journal, I wrote out the year I was 20. From Radiating Spokes, I wrote Austin, where I was attending college, and the name of my high school boyfriend, with whom I reconciled that spring, and Sour Lake, my hometown, where I returned for the summer in part for the boyfriend. Each new word conjured some words of its own, like from Sour Lake, Lamar University, the nearby college where I took summer classes, the inordinate amount of time I spent navigating sweltering parking lots, Tropical Storm Allison, which flooded the city of Houston, just 80 miles west of Sour Lake, and also my car. I'd left the windows down, with the interior was soaked and a sour smell set in that never left. With only slight pressing, I could remember outfits I'd loved, people I hadn't thought of in 2 decades. And in the course of remembering, I naturally moved to national and even world events. All to say, this mind map helped me recover long forgotten details and took me unexpected places. I found I can do this not only with periods of time, but also with people and places. I can do it with a favorite word like pilfer. Immediately, I'm 3 years old at the grocery store with my mother, caught with a balloon tucked tightly in my fist. The experience is strange and wonderful, spatial rather than linear. It's associative, surprising, even exhilarating. It mines the memory for things long buried, maybe to be used in fiction or memoir, maybe simply cherished as a recovering of the past. And if anybody is just listening to this without watching the video, at this point, there is a little mind map with a circle with 2001, and then some little offshoots for 9/11, Alarm Clock Radio, 9:30 Shakespeare. That must be like a class that this writer was in. Another outcropping for Sour Lake, another outcropping for Kirk, who I'm guessing is maybe the boyfriend, all drawn as like a mind map. Okay, so this is your prompt. Create a mind map. Choose a year, a place, a person, or a favorite word. On a page in your journal, write it down and begin mapping out the web of associations and memories that appear in your mind. Follow it where it leads. Okay, so I am going to set a timer. Oh no, can I remember where the timer is? Okay, I'm going to set a timer on my phone for 10 minutes. So the idea is to spend the whole 10 minutes just creating this mind map, But you might find that once you start making the mind map, there's something that occurs to you that you feel really drawn to write. Feel free to do that. This time is your own. Feel free to use it to journal however feels best to you. And the time starts now. Okay, so that is 10 minutes. Hopefully that went well. How did this exercise go for you, Adrian?
Really well. I didn't. Okay, so I picked 2021. We got like very all over the place. It was kind of like a really big year for me in that there are kind of like a lot of sliding glass door moments. So yeah, I started there and then it just spiraled to all of these different physical places, people, big life decisions, adventures, just a really rich time. And I definitely remembered some things that I haven't thought about pretty much since then, or like a pretty long time since like right after or whatever. So it's kind of interesting. How about you?
Yeah, I decided to do 2001. It's interesting. I won't share it to protect the innocent, but it did transition me into doing some actual writing
Mm.
about some feelings that I had back then, like the beginnings of some anxiety that kind of became something bigger later, but I had never thought about how there were kind of beginnings of it in 2001, even that far back, which is interesting. So I thought that was a really useful exercise for me. And if people do this at home and you want to share with us what you came up with and how this exercise worked for you, we would love to hear it. Okay, should we switch to the other prompt, the oracle reading?
Yes, yes. Okay, so first I will share the card by itself and I will give you some context. So I used the Spirit Animal Oracle deck and by, what's it, Leah Androic. I believe this is the first one that I used in our first Book of Alchemy session. So I thought like nice full circle moment. The question that I brought to the card was what energy and or message is most potent for us as we conclude this Book of Alchemy experience. And so the way I like to do this is just put the card up first and kind of anything that comes up for you with the image that may relate to the question, to your life, anything like that. Just kind of see what bubbles up with your own intuition before I share the reading for it. And we'll have like 2 minutes to do that. Just quick thoughts. Okay. So this is the reading for this one. So the card Buffalo 21, abundance, wealth. With a grateful heart, abundance appears. When buffalo is your animal spirit guide, you are aligned with prosperity and abundance. On a spiritual level, buffaloes teach us about the abundance of resources available to us when we live in harmony with ourselves. Buffaloes symbolize the importance of gratitude and appreciation for the abundance in our lives. They remind us to acknowledge and celebrate the blessings we receive, whether they are material wealth, emotional support, or spiritual fulfillment. This card embodies the principle of abundant consciousness, which emphasizes the belief that there is more than enough to go around for everyone. It asks us to release the scarcity mindset and embrace the mindset of plenty, knowing that there is an endless supply of blessings available to us when we open ourselves to receive. The affirmations paired with this card: gratitude fills my heart and brings peace to my soul. Abundance flows to me in unexpected ways. Wealth comes to me naturally and easily. And then I will set a timer for 2 minutes again, and just anything that this reading stirs up in you, and if anything is different from when you had just the card and what that might mean. The timer just went off. For some reason, it didn't chime this time. Not really sure. What came up for you, if you want to share?
Yeah, a few things. I just love abundance as a theme. It
Mhm.
always feels so freeing to me. And I love the combination of the idea of abundance with a buffalo. I never would have thought of that, but I totally get it. And how it's this big animal that once it gets moving, there's no stopping it, no getting in its way. I really like that. And then the other thing I thought of was supposedly buffalo, 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 buffalo is a complete sentence, and almost any even number of buffaloes is a working sentence. Because it's like like the animal from New York kind of like gets in the way or bothers the animal from New York, you know? So like buffalo,
Okay.
buffalo, 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 buffalo.
It took me a second for that to click.
It's just fun to say. What about you?
So, when I drew the card, I was really excited to see a buffalo. I was also a little like, abundance, wealth. That's interesting. But I went to Yellowstone, gosh, I think it was 2023, and there's buffalo everywhere. And it's really, really neat. Like, they're these huge, powerful animals, but they're also really playful with each other.
Mm.
And like these massive herds will just roam. Like it'll stop traffic. If the herd is huge, literally you could be sitting there for an hour or more just waiting for the buffalo to make their way. And just this idea, like when I kind of like you said, like thought about it, they just trust that like the next thing they need is wherever they're going.
Beautiful.
Like they just roam and wander, like, and it's just, they're just going to have whatever they need wherever they end up. And it was just like such a majestic thing to see, especially in that quantity. And so the thing that kept coming up to me was like, I'm resourceful, and how the woman is embracing him. I took that as embrace the big thing, like the big scary thing. Just, kind of go for it, have that same trust. And then after the reading, I was thinking about the idea that like trusting what I need and desire is out there, and the abundant consciousness, like collaboration, like you and I coming together, we both have writing groups and sharing the experience and just being open to those types of experiences. And the phrase live in harmony with ourselves, that really stood out. Just the idea of staying connected to our intuition and our instincts. And sometimes, I do it too. And it's like a conscious thing I have to work on. And I do with clients as well, is you have this idea or this inkling to go for something or do something, and then your logic brain takes over, and it's almost like you're talking yourself out of it. But it's like, what if you actually just trusted that, whisper of your intuition, that instinct to entertain the notion of the big scary thing and so I was circling around that and trusting my path, that sort of thing.
I love that.
Yeah.
So don't let buffalo, 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 buffalo.
Yes. That's a really fun word, buffalo.
Yeah.
I'm going to be walking around my house muttering it to myself today. It's fine.
I was kind of trying to combine it with abundance, like a bunch full of, doesn't quite work.
That's really funny. Oh.
Okay, so before we wrap up, and again, anybody who is watching this recording later and wants to let us know what came up for you, what ideas or thoughts you had, please do share them with us. And we're both in each other's groups. So if you're just
Yes.
in one of the groups, we can both see
Hmm.
the comments, and you can even tag both of us. But I just have one final reflection and then a question. So the reflection is that 10 weeks ago, we all opened the same book, and we didn't all have the same experience, but each of us found our own different questions, our own stories, and our own different kinds of magic in these pages. So I hope this challenge doesn't feel like something that is ending today. I hope it feels like the beginning of a new journaling practice and something that will keep evolving for you in the way that you want it to and you need it to. So the final question is, what is one small journaling practice that you're really excited to carry into your next season with you?
Hmm.
And I can go first if you
Yeah,
want.
if you want to.
Okay. So I'll say that what I'm taking away is Oracle decks. You've introduced me to Oracle decks, which I had never used before. And I now have my first Oracle deck, which is this one, the folklore one.
Do you love
Um,
it, by the way? Because I
I
don't have
do
that one
love
yet, but I
it. I
love the
do
cover of
love
it,
it.
and I'm like, I need to get that
Yeah.
one.
And I love that it's something that is open-ended enough that I can turn to it, and buffalo might mean one thing to me today and a totally different thing to me in December or something. And I love that there's the picture, and then if that doesn't spark something, then you can look at that longer description. So this is a really cool, exciting thing that I'm really happy to add to my practice. The only thing is that now I want like all of the Oracle decks.
I have a lot. They become really addicting. And then you're like, ooh, affirmation desk. Same
Yeah.
family. I think I will.
Yeah.
I literally have 2 boxes of them on my bookshelf right now. But yeah, I do them in all of my writing circles. It's what, like you said, it will always spark something, whether it's the reading or the image. And I just like that idea of, you know, like you're just drawing a random card and it's like, what does that bring up in you on that day? And it could be totally different one day from the next. And I always look at that as like, it's the message we need to hear in some way.
Yeah. And I like how you start with a question before you flip it over.
Yeah, I kind of look at the question as almost like setting an intention, or if there's something on my mind that day, like what energy might I need to get unstuck creatively or something, and then just kind of see what that bubbles up. And oftentimes, I very much think our answers are within us, even though we like to outsource and override our instincts. But for me, this has been a practice that separates me from the normal rumination of my mind and kind of just opens up something new for me to explore. And usually within that, I find whatever it is that I'm looking for.
So thank you for introducing me to this.
Yes, I'm excited to hear about all of the new decks that you buy. So one thing that I had highlighted, and so she says, like in the afterword, she's talking about basically like when her cancer came back, no matter what she does, all of that toiling. Our toiling will not change the fact that the path ahead is full of uncertainty, that there'll be many obstacles, both known and unknown. And so she did one last thing to prepare. I selected a new journal and cracked its spine. And then she wrote basically a poem, a prayer of alchemy. And I reach for the page like I reach for a prayer, to plead, to confess, to commune, to remember that all is not chaos, all is not light lost. I reach for it like a reporter's pad, to record something overheard, something glimpsed, some stray thought I don't want to forget. I reach for it like a friend, for company, for counsel. I tell my journal what knots I'm in, and together we untangle the threads. I murmur my dreams, and together we arc toward them. I make of this writing a ritual, to mark the thresholds, to traverse the valleys and the peaks, to honor the space between no longer and not yet. The journal is oceanic, it's capacious, it's memory, reverie, distillation. It teaches me to pay attention, to see the world anew, to rearrange the pieces, to play. The journal is a tabula rasa and terra incognita. It's a mirror for the self, past, present, and future, and a portal into the not yet known. It is a refuge, a hidden place, a searching place, a finding place. It's where I go to know myself, to uncover the unlived lives within me. Here I create myself, here I write my way through. And then she says that it might be the end of the book of alchemy, but with most endings, it's also a beginning. And I think just that we can get into this needing certainty, needing to know the outcome, or like thinking you have a plan, and then like her story, cancer just keeps popping up, like no matter what she's got going on. It's like every time she thinks she has a plan and she's on her trajectory, life is life, and whatever, she has to adjust and everything kind of changes. And just the fact that and I've felt this really my whole life, and like it's the thing I'm always going to cling to, is that like no matter what is going on, good or bad, like my journal is there to help get me through it and help figure my way through it and myself through it. Yeah. And I know sometimes, at least for me, like when times can be really challenging, it's like the time I need to write the most, but I also feel the most resistance to writing. And so, just even having a resource like the Book of Alchemy, like whatever you're feeling or going through, there's something in it you can open up to, and it'll open up something in you one way or another.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. You don't have to do it alone. There's,
Mm-hmm.
like you said before, that there's these kind of outer things that you can turn to that really are just prompting you to find the answer that is already within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I think that's a beautiful way to end this call, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So thank you for everybody who participated, whether you came to a live call or you just went through some of the prompts on your own, whether you had the book yourself or you just followed the prompts as we gave them to you. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you in both of our groups.
Yes. Thank you so much. And Kayleigh, thank you. This has been an awesome experience.